Welcome to the Mystic Hour with Clare Stone and Nathaniel Warren.
Welcome everyone to the Mystic Hour with me, your host as always, Nathaniel Warren, joined in the studio as always by psychic medium Clare Stone.
Hello.
And we've got a really exciting episode for you this week. If this is the first time listening to the Mystic Hour, it's a bit of a different show every week we do it, to be honest. Sometimes we're speaking about astrology, sometimes we'll be speaking about star signs, but this week is one of our mystical chats. Now, the mystical chats are essentially a segment where I gather a bunch of questions to talk about and ask Clare, and Clare answers the questions for us. The show of curiosity, I'd say, which, it's always been a lot of fun to do. And I've got to say, I'm quite looking forward to what we're going to get into today. So I think a good place to start, just looking at my notes for the questions I've made for you this week. When are spirits most active, Clare?
They seem to be most active for me in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. It's typical because a lot of people think, oh, is that like typical ghost story thing in the night, in the dark, and they only come out at night? No, they don't only come out at night, but they're more active then just because I would always feel like more in dream state. So you're kind of more susceptible to spirit at that time rather than if you get up at 10 o'clock or in the morning or whatever, you're probably not going to get as many just because you're awake and you're alert and it's, like a normal day. But yeah, when you're like sleepy, they come through way more. Like even actually in a normal day, if I'm really tired, I get them constantly, like all the time. A lot of people think as well they come out at certain times of the year, more like Halloween and stuff. But if you're a medium, it's like, nah, it's just the same. Yeah. The veil is thin every day. People might get more just because the subconscious is telling them, like, it's Halloween. They're coming out more.
They're looking for it,
Yeah, they're looking for it more, and they might see more into things that probably aren't there. Mm-hmm. But I let people go on their way with that. Like, I'm just like, you can see it. It depends as well. Like, full moon's really good.
Right,
Weirdly, that's a question I had the other day from someone, because we were talking about this before we came on air, what people, like, asked me and stuff. They do come out, I would say, a lot more on full moons.
Right, okay.
Because the energy's pulling more, and again, you're more open to it.
Yeah.
So sometimes, on Halloween, you might get full moon. So that would coincide with it. But yeah, new moon's not so much. I always feel like new moon is like a rest day.
Right.
You get nothing. It's like the dark period where you're like, oh my God, have I got the gift anymore? I can't get anything. Oh my God.
Yeah.
If I get clients and on a new moon, I'm like, I'm really happy because it's like a happy energy. But spirit are like, no, we're on a day after day. You're not pulling any energy in. So that's it. And I'm like, oh God, I can't work. Whereas a full moon, it's like really depressive, but you get about 10 spirits in on a reading. So you're pretty good.
Good day for work.
Yeah. Not good mentally, but good for spirits. Things go wrong. You feel jinxed. But yeah, spirits are having a great old time. Everyone's different. They're all mediums, psychics and stuff. Have different things that they do, but this is for me personally. But yeah, I always get woken up about 2 or 3, 4 in the morning. That's their happy place and their happy time.
So interesting.
Yeah, and like they try and tell you things and stuff, whereas I'm just really angry and I'm like, no, I don't want to listen to it right now because I have a reading the next day to do, and I'm going to be really tired to do it. Because that's why I start readings at 10. Like people say, oh, can I have one at 9? I'm like, are you sure? Because your dad or your mum's been through to see me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've had no sleep all night. So do you really want it that early in the morning? And that goes for like late at night as well. Like a lot of people say to me, oh, can I have it like later on at, night, a reading or whatever? I'm like, I'm done. You'll get spirits through, but not necessarily as much psychic stuff because they just drain all your energy. Like the momentum through the day just wanes off a little bit. So yeah, you get them through, but you're just so knackered, you just can't do it. Like by 5 or 6, I'm done. I can't do anymore. So yeah, that's why I do that. But yeah, they pop up. Like last week, I had loads of spirits come through.
Yeah.
Loads and loads. Like when I had to come pick you up because your car.
Yeah.
I saw about 3 on the way to your mum's. Like 3, and I was thinking, should I drive the car? Should I get you to drive the car and put you on my insurance? Because I'm just seeing, that's why I can't drive if I have to do like groupie things or have to go and see someone in their house. Your brother has to drive me. It's too dangerous because you get too distracted. Like now and again I might, if it's just a short distance or whatever, but because you just see them on the side of the road just being normal. They don't necessarily do a lot of stuff, but you're like, is that someone walking across the road? Oh my God. Like you screech the brakes on and yeah, that's not very good.
It's so interesting that it seems to be when either you're tired or seemingly stressed.
Yeah.
Because that would almost point to it being like the veil thins when you've got this different level of alertness.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting.
And also they feed off that energy as well.
Yeah.
Which is a bit witchy. So they feed off of it to give you signs, symbols, and all the rest of it.
Right.
That's why, like, you know, when people come to me and say, oh God, everything's going wrong for me. And I'm like, yeah, because you're down and you're bringing in more negative spirits and they're feeding and feeding and feeding off of you, and it makes it a million times worse. Whereas it's difficult, though, not to be down sometimes for people, but it does make it worse. So, yeah, like a lot of women, especially around certain times of the month, you get loads of spirits then as well because your energy's, like, just all over the place and they love it. Not always bad spirits, so even good spirits do it. They feed off that energy. That's how you do readings, though, to be fair. Like, the amount of people I see every week, it feeds and feeds, and it just builds more and more energy for me to read you psychically. Yeah. So, like, when I read you psychically, I've seen about 10 people the week before or whatever. That's great. You'll have a good reading out of that. So it makes my energy more heightened too, and it makes spirit more heightened, and they're like, oh, I want to come and play, I want to come and talk to you. So yeah, that's, you know, when people do psychic development and stuff like that, it's like it takes a long time to build that up. Or, you know, sometimes people might get more spirits and they're like, oh, I haven't seen any in like 2 years. I'm like, probably because you're not meant to, or your energy's actually probably quite good. You've not had a lot of activity around you. So it doesn't mean they hate you. It just means you're probably a bit more stable energy-wise than other people.
This actually all falls into another question, which I was going to ask really well, which is how do you know if a spirit is trying to contact you? When should people think, okay, maybe now's the time I go and see a psychic medium and see what's going on? Is that something that can happen? Yeah,
they can sometimes. Repetitive dreams are one of them. A sense sometimes of a bit doom and gloom. Not necessarily depressed. That's totally different. Like, you should see somebody like a, you know, counsellor for things like that. But if you're feeling a bit like, I feel off, something isn't right, I feel like I'm being, like, my intuition is really on point at the moment, that's probably also the time. Because you might not be able to hear what they're telling you, or getting pictures up. You need somebody else to, like, you know, understand the riddle they're trying to, because it is a riddle, and it's like, I'm the, like, code breaker. I'm trying to break that code when someone comes to see me. Go, oh yeah, it's probably because someone's going to be ill in your family, and they're trying to tell you, and it's probably literally as simple as, don't worry, I've got it. But then it makes you worry because you think, what are you trying to tell me? Oh my God. Yeah. Like, I'm going to die. No, they wouldn't tell you if you're going to die, to be fair. Yeah. They wouldn't make you anxious or anything. A lot of people, actually, before they pass, actually feel pretty good. A lot of the time, if they're not ill or anything before they go. Yeah, that's why sometimes people say, oh, I didn't know they were going to do this to themselves or whatever. And I'm like, because they're sometimes in that moment of void. Or peace, and spirit will not tell you. Like, some people that have been close to me that have died, you never know. They don't tell you. But other things like health things or accidents and stuff, they might be like, I need to warn you about that, so go and see somebody about it. But yeah, dreams, also seeing spirit quite frequently sometimes as well. Right. Like, if you don't usually, like, sometimes you might see the odd bits and pieces, and that's fine, like, that's normal. But if you're seeing it like every single minute of the day, then yeah, maybe you need to come and see someone, either because you've got an attachment to you, or again, they're trying to tell you something that's important. Yeah, because sometimes spirit, you know, will pop up randomly for somebody, and they don't really need to go and see a psychic. It's just they've accidentally seen something that's walking past them. Yeah. But yeah, if you're seeing it frequently like that, dreams, also getting signs and symbols like every day. Like, you're getting feather dropping every day, or yeah, just seeing like random things like pop. Like, for me, if I see certain animals all the time, I'm like, oh God. So I get the cards out and put out, like, what's going to happen now? And so I do that. But yeah, so that's another indicator. Interesting. Yeah. I remember when we did a reading together, and you read for me, you were saying that for me there's different signs of, like, oh, my granddad could represent in blackbirds, for example. Is that different for everyone? Not all the time. A lot of people get things like that. Right. That I would say is normal. Right. Like, blackbirds, robins, feathers, butterflies, stuff like that. That is regular spirit stuff. A lot of spirits don't have the skill to do bigger things all the time, or that I can't bother to train and do that. I'll just send him that. That's easy peasy. Right. But it's still a sign of love, but it's just easy. Like when I do clients, sometimes I'll get 5 people in a row that'll get robins. And I'm like, I'm not doing the same reading. It's just that's their trick out of the box. A lot of other psychic mediums probably get that as well. Like, oh, God's sake.
It's interesting that the spirit almost needs to train themselves until they can send something bigger.
I had one the other day that was different. I had someone with doves.
Okay.
Never get doves ever. Ever. That's usually like an angel type thing. So white doves and things, or horses as well. Horses are a good one. Well, usually horses are a sign of death, though.
Right, interesting.
But they can be like, what if you see a white horse? Usually you would think it would be a black horse. Actually, black horses are quite lucky. It's a white horse for that. But horses are also a spiritual sign of like that freedom. Yeah, it's good for health as well. If I see it when they ping that up. So yeah, horses are another one. Just like loads of stuff, or other signs and symbols that are more specific to the person. So it could be a favorite song. Yeah, is a sign. Had that before. Literally done someone's reading saying, oh, they're going to give you a sign in the next 24 hours to say they've been, and it'll be their favorite song. And this happened to a guy, and it came up on the radio as soon as he left the house, and he came back to the house and knocked on the door. Was like, can you hear that song? That's his song. Oh my God. He's like, I just literally just switched it on and it came on. He said, we played that at his funeral. How weird is that? So yeah, you get stuff like really nice things like that a lot of the time, or even like favorite TV shows or films and things as well that you haven't seen in years, all of a sudden come up after you've had a reading. So yeah, you get that a lot. But yeah, just so many different things that can be associated with them that come in. Like a friend of mine that died, I get little snippets from her now and again that she used to love, and it's so different than robins or blackbirds and rainbows and all the rest of it.
More personal.
She wouldn't do that. She's bringing out the big guns because she knows it's me, and she's like, oh, Claire's going to know. It's just like boring. So we'll do something really spectacular when that comes up. Or like something, that just reminds me of her, like a song or whatever. Like sometimes I play her songs on here. Yeah. When I do Tarot Tuesdays and things, and I think, oh, she's going to know that, so she'll send me a sign back. Yeah. That's how you can actually work with spirit actually really well, is if you send them a sign. So sometimes, send them a song that they would have liked. Just play it really loudly in the house, or put out their favourite flowers that they would have liked before they died. And then usually they'll send you one back. In the next, it's like a bit
sending
of a game.
Cards to each other.
Yeah, and it's like a game, and and that's actually really good at using your like spiritual intuition as well. Yeah. So it develops it more, like for them to come through a little bit. So it's like, I do that all the time. Another one, I've got like a little Buddha thing outside of my garden. I usually leave little gifts and flowers there. And then usually I'll get something nice back, or like a happy sign or something good opportunity at work. I'll do that. I did that a while ago, and I got a really good opportunity. So I was like, yes. I'm like,
nice.
They like to be bribe spirits, actually. They're really good at being bribed. Leave them little pennies and things like that, and you'll be like, oh, that happened now. That's really good. Like,
is that almost where the idea of like a wishing well comes from? Yeah,
it can be. Yeah, like you make a wish on something, and spirit like, all right then. And they show off by doing it too. So if you want a really big new opportunity and they feel like you are ready for it, they'll be like, oh, okay, I'll use my little magical powers and I'll make it happen for you. And you can thank me for that. Like they love praise as well. Like praising them, like, oh, well, I did that for you and stuff. So yeah, I get that from my family in spirit. Like, my grandparents and stuff show off like all the time going, I did that for Claire. Yeah. No, it wasn't them down there. It was me that did that. So, that's why people sometimes feel like their luck changes for the better, actually, when people have died. Like, so they'll get that grief period. Then all of a sudden it's like, God, I got this amazing new job, or I met this amazing new partner, or I got a new house. I'm like, that's because I'm working more on your side now. You haven't got great granddad up there, like, divvying around anymore. You've got, like, your mum or whoever there, like, helping you out, like, with full, like, energy. So, yeah, they do that quite a bit for you as well.
Interesting. It's quite nice to speak about almost the wholesome side of spirit for once, rather than, we've spoken on here so many times about almost horror stories and ghost stories that you've had. Yeah, they are. But good. Is there any like really wholesome stories, any ones in particular that come to your mind when dealing with spirit?
Oh God, there's actually more than less. Like there's just so many, to be fair, that I can't even think of one like specific one. You get really, again, like really nice ones, like songs playing, or, you know, people's lives changing for the better in some ways. But yeah, they do all sorts of different things. Like the horror stories with spirits are just more kind of here, there, and everywhere, really.
Yeah.
As I said to you before, there's a program I really like called Ghosts. That's what spirit are actually really like. They're not all horrible and evil. Like the amount of poltergeist activity you get, like all over the world, is actually, I would say, about 5%. Like it's not, you know, a majority of spirits do cross over properly. A lot of piss spirits as well, like the good ones as well, they will give you a sign sometimes straight away when they passed. You get that quite a bit. A lot of spirits actually lie next to you in bed, not to creep anyone out. They don't sleep, but sometimes they lie next to you as a comfort thing. So I have that quite a bit, where someone said, my back's been killing me, I've been really cold. I'm like, yeah, because you've got someone lying on the side of you. So you get that quite a bit, like as a comfort thing, or hugging, like spirits hug quite a bit as well. So my ribs are always in agony. Constantly, because their energy is heavier than ours, so I feel like I've broken my ribs all the time. Because they give you a hug to say, I want to hug you like my daughter, but I can't because it will be too freaky for her when I do a reading. So they do that quite a bit. But yeah, and like orbs and big bright lights and all the rest of it. Like when my dog died, that was like one of the best, like coolest signs. I dreamt that she died, and then I walked out of the room and she died exactly as I dreamt it. And then my mum said it was like a really horrible rainy like evening, and really, really dark and horrible and gloomy, and all of a sudden this big bright light came in, and she said that was her soul going away. So you get really nice stories about that, where people are like, oh my god, like the sun literally just shone straight in on them. And it's like, yeah, that's a soul going away. That's why I say to people, if anyone's passed in the house, anything like that, always leave the window open. You know, their soul can go, you know, anywhere, but sometimes it's usually better with the windows open, just to let that energy flow through. Then you don't get bad spirits doing that either. That's why sometimes people, if they've died in the home and things, their energy can linger for a little bit longer if they've like had a fall or whatever. Not in a bad way, but sometimes they can have like possession of the house still. So someone new moves in, they feel like, I've had nothing but bad luck since I moved in. Just, it's not because they're being horrible, it's sometimes just because their energy's just too much of it. Whereas when you leave the window open, they can it's like a nice flowy energy.
I suppose that's a good place to go into the question that you were posing this morning, that you get quite a lot, about, can spirit sort of host onto items or objects?
Yes.
What do you make of that?
Yeah, they do, definitely. I get this question quite a bit when people say, my kid's toy's been spinning around on the floor all day and it won't stop, or like there's no batteries in something and all of a sudden it starts working. Or like they have a haunted painting. They do attach themselves to objects. That's why some spirits, when they come through to see me, they're like, oh, I wish I had everything with me when I died, as in everything chucked in the coffin. And sometimes I do feel like, yeah, that probably is a good idea for a lot of spirits, because they do love like, you know, you've got a sword behind you and stuff. If that's belonged to somebody else before, like it would just keep falling on the floor all the time. Or you'd have nothing but trouble with it, or you feel like every time it's been in the house, it's like bad luck. My mum had a really good story, actually. She had this dog that was given to her by my great-gran. Big Alsatian dog, like ornament. And it looks a bit tacky and horrible. But everyone in the family thought it was bad luck, but no one told my mum this. They said the spirit's connected to that. It's horrible. My mum had it for years, and she feels like she's had nothing but bad luck, all these issues and problems. So she tried to fob it off my aunties the other week. And they said, no, it's bad luck, we're not having it. So she was like, okay, I'll smash it up and I'll put it in the bin. And I said, well, yeah, that's the best thing to do for things like that. Don't burn it or anything. Either just put it in your bin or bury it somewhere. Take it out and bury it and it's gone. Well, she smashed it up too much. Like, she's like literally manifested this now. So she smashed it up, put it in the bin, and she should have put a hole in the bin. And then literally the same morning, walked down the road, fell over, snapped her arm in half. So,
Jesus.
So I was like, don't mess around with objects that are possessed by something. So yeah, do the rituals properly on it, say a prayer over it, bury it, don't smash up into a million pieces and put all that hate into it even more. So Spirit taught her a lesson, although she's been quite calm lately since this happened. So her luck's changed for the better now, but she had to break her arm in the process.
Yeah.
She'll hate me telling that story now. She'll be like, oh, for God's sake. So yeah, they can do things like that. That's why I always tell people if they come to be very careful. Don't even say you're going to do it though, really. Sit in your head, just saying, right, I'm going to get rid of that tomorrow. I had some with a painting once. That was bad. Like, her partner had a breakdown. She had nothing but bad luck with work. But she said somebody gave her that object and they think it was like had a spirit on it or had a curse put on it. Wow. So I told her to bury it. So I said, take it far out. You're never going to visit that place ever again. You know you're never going to go there. And she said she's been fine. Since. It's good. Cleared. Fine. So sometimes spirit can be attached to the house, so not always objects. So sometimes people might think, oh, it's attached to that object, but actually it's the house. Yeah. So a house technically is possession, right, or object. So yeah, spirit can attach itself to the house and just make you feel like rubbish.
Is there any way to banish that?
You can have a full-on exorcism of the house, but usually they just get too angry. Like people sage and things like that. Sage is all right if you've kind of in a new build, right? But if you're in an old house, you're just upsetting them even more. And it's like people, when they sage it, like, I've been so ill afterwards. It's like, well, what do you think? It's like you've basically maced a spirit in the face or something that you can't get rid of. Usually holy water's quite good. Salt is really good. Front, back door, in the corners of the rooms that are affected. That's really good. But a lot of this, that's why, like, I would say the Poltergeist Junior, like the small fry spirits, if that works and you're like, that wasn't actually that much of a problem. Yeah. If they still don't go, yeah, you're not going to get rid of it. The only way you can do it is move. Right. I've had people where boilers have like near enough blown up, flooded the house, fire issues, stuff like that with it. If you start getting that, get out. Move. Yeah. Save all your money up as much as you can and get out of there. Yeah, because there's nothing really you can do about it. Yeah, you could have a priest come round and do like an exorcism and stuff, like say a prayer over it. But then anyone can say a prayer in the house and try and get rid of it. But, you know, I've done that before in my bedroom and things like that where I used to live. And it did work for a couple of weeks. Yeah. It kind of get warned off a little bit and like, oh, I don't like that. But then they just come back. Right. And you're like, I can't keep doing this every 2 weeks. Like, it's a bit annoying, really. Or they get used to it and they can't be bothered anymore. You see in a lot of old pubs, actually, they'll attach themselves to certain objects or the building. And they're like, oh, will it ever go away? And I'm like, well, no, like, you're not going, unless you demolish the building, you know, they could still be on the ground it's been built on as well. So that's another risk. Where I've had that before, like with new builds, where that is haunted. And like the ground has been built on's either been cursed, or you've got a spirit there that's been buried nearby. Or down the road, someone's done something and they're like, oh, I like this energy. And then they come in the house and you can't get rid of them. So you get that all the time too. But yeah, possessions. That's why I say to people to scatter ashes. Yeah. Don't leave it in the house. I know it's really difficult for some people to let go. Like they need to get through that process. But that can be really bad sometimes for people. That's like something, that energy is feeding more spirits than if you keep that in the house. So I always like scatter it, do something else with it, or they get it made into jewellery a lot of the time. Yeah. And then like the energy around you is grey. It's like not good. I know they're being nice and again, it's like something to hold on. But sometimes it can draw in other spirits, not just the spirit that's passed that you've got on you. So I have noticed that a little bit as well for people where they're very emotional all the time or just very down in the dumps. I'm like, you've got 3 attachments to you that you don't even know because you've got like your mum's ashes around your neck or whatever. It's difficult though. If people want to do that, they can do that. It's just for me personally, everything has to go. You know, certain bits and pieces you can keep on you, obviously, that are sentimental. But if anything you feel is a bit weird or a bit off, get rid of it. Yeah. It's even charity shop. Yeah. Just put it in there. Unless somebody else might be better with it. Some actually psychics and mediums will have, you know, these scary dolls and things that think they come like spirit attached to them that cheer. That they're professionals. So that's fine if you have scary doll. I think there's a medium on TV I've seen, she like collects scary dolls and stuff. Right. But she's a professional, so she can deal with the spirits attached to them. But if you're not, then you're just asking for trouble all the time. Like if you said, "Oh, I'm collecting haunted objects," I'd say, "Nathaniel, I don't think that's a very good idea."
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, "How do I get rid of them now?" Whereas a medium can get rid of them, or know what to do with them if something does go wrong. If you do have a spirit coming and scratching you and trying to strangle you in the middle of the night, that's what can happen. But obviously that is very rare. I get this very rarely from people. And a lot of the time it is just the house. It's not always the object.
Yeah.
Or spirits love crystals as well. They love it. That's why I don't have any crystals at all in my downstairs rooms, like nothing like that. People always come in and go, "Oh, why haven't you got crystals and stuff, like psychic and that?" And it's like, because they can create good energy, but they can also draw in bad energy. So you have to be careful with them. Make sure you put them out in the sunlight. Don't put them out on, people put them out on a full moon. Why are you putting out on a full moon? Full moons have endings. So you're obviously going to end something with that crystal now. Always put them out in the sunlight, and never put them in places that are, like lounge areas or where I'm working, because, it will feed in negative spirit. Always be careful. And pentagrams as well. Yeah. Pentagrams are a real problem for clients. If I say to a client, like, "Oh, what have you got in the house?" "I've got a crystal and I've got a pentagram in the house." It's like, put it in one room or get rid of it. Like, I'm not against it, because I love love all my witchcraft stuff, but I've got it in one room, sealed room. It is not in my bedroom. It is not anywhere else in the house. Yeah. Or a sealed box is quite good, like a wooden box. Put things like that in there. Then get them out when you want to do rituals, or even do them outside the ritual. That's really good, because then it's not in your house. So
keeps the energy away.
Well, like it keeps it cleansed. Sometimes I do spells and things in the house, but it depends what it is. If it's like a light spell, it's not anything too big. Yeah. But usually I just go outside and do them all, and then put them back in the box, put it in my room, my spare room, and then that's it, and it's done. So that's a good bit of advice for people if you don't want bad spirits coming into your house and attaching themselves to things. Yeah.
And like you said, if you do have anything that you think is maybe attached to a spirit, burying them seems to be the best way. Yeah,
a lot of people burn them, but burning, to me, manifests things. If you do spells, a lot of people burn stuff. Well, it's like, why would you burn something that's got a negative attachment to it? You're not getting rid of it. Burial's good, because it's like if you bury a body or you bury ashes, you've put a prayer over it, or or some type of ritual. That's really good. So like, say like the Lord's Prayer, or a little last words you want to put on it if you're not into that type of thing. Get rid of it that way, but way away from your house. Yeah. Do not bury it in your garden, because it will still be in your property. Really far away, secret place, no one go near it. That's like really good. Yeah. But everyone's different. There's some witchy people say, burn it. Like some people say burn tarot cards you think are haunted, or you don't want anyone. Like, don't burn tarot cards. But somebody taught me that years and years ago. Always bury it and put a ritual over it, and then still kind of alive, but it's in a different area. It's not in your property.
Not your problem anymore.
Yeah, not your problem anymore. It could be somebody else's problem.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably a good place to get into some more songs. We've still got a lot of stuff to speak about, and to be fair, looking at my notes, it's sort of stuff we're getting near covering, but not quite touched on, so it should be a nice full circle end of the show today. The Mystic Hour. Stars, spirits, and souls. Welcome everyone back to another episode of the Mystic Hour, where this week we are doing one of our mystical chats. I'm your host, as always, Nathaniel Warren, joined by my co-host in the show, psychic medium Clare Stone, bestowing her knowledge upon us this week, as we've been asking her a bunch of different questions. We've covered quite a few different topics today, loads. And there's a few which I sort of want to go over that we've touched on a little bit, but not completely. So taking a look at my notes, we've already covered how to get in, or how to know if a spirit is trying to get in contact with you. But of course, you've spoken to us before how there's sort of always spirit around you, particularly almost a spirit team, as you called them when we did it on a Pandora's box before. Now, this is something which I'm going to go really in depth in at some point. So maybe we'll just sort of touch on it today, and then get more in depth in a future week. But how is that spirit team, those Avengers, so to speak, of your spirit world, assigned to you in the first place?
So what I believe, and what a lot of people believe, you're in the industry, is when you're born, you're given guides. So sometimes people get like 3, others will get 6, 7, 8, you get loads of them. Those can change over your life though. So you get your usual ones when you're born. And then as the years go on, one or two of those can change. They're assigned to you to guide who best to guide you. So your personality, what job, you've written down that you want to do, like that's the guy for you to help you with that. Or relationship wise, a lot of people say, well, why isn't my life perfect then? Why isn't my life great? It's not supposed to be. Like your life down here really is lesson learning. And these guides are the best ones to guide you in the right direction to learn those lessons when it all falls apart or it works. I've got loads of different ones. A lot of people always get Native American ones. Okay. Which it can be true. I guess they're very spiritual people. A lot of guides are actually spiritual. Yeah. I've got a Native American one. Only one though. Got a Victorian lady, which is funny. And I've also got an animal as well, an animal spirit. I had a hyena. But it's funny, I went to a psychic years ago and she said, you've got a hyena and it's your temper. And I thought, that's so true. Like she said, you just snap like that. And I was like, very true. A lot of people didn't get that. Some people wouldn't even get one animal. They just get just two old men that will follow them around as their guides and then that'll be it. But you get just so many different ones when they come through.
Does this tie into what you were saying about how after you do pass, you almost get jobs in the spirit world? Is that their jobs?
Yeah, that's their jobs. Sometimes with some spirits, it will be years and decades or 100 years before they're allowed to guide somebody. And then other times it can be straight away. Some people aren't allowed to be guides. So some spirits, if they pass over, they just do healing and stuff. So if there's like a big world crisis or whatever, it's like all hands on deck, guide or not guide. You've got to help the other guides out for those people that are going through a bad problem. And that goes for angels as well. That's why, if there's a big disaster, I get really unwell. Spirits will cluster either to me, my guides will shield me and be like, no, you're not going today. You've got another 50 years left in you. Or it's because they're coming in to see other people and going, Claire, I'm just here to do this. Don't worry about it, even though you feel terrible right now. Right. So that's why I always say to you, if I get a really bad migraine, I'm like, there's going to be an earthquake soon or something. Yeah. I've got so many energies coming in. It's ridiculous. Or a war or whatever. And that happened with COVID as well. I've never felt so unwell pre-COVID or just down in the dumps. And then afterwards I felt great. I felt amazing because it's they'd all gone and done their jobs then. But you do get that. But with guides, if they're replaced, they're only usually replaced just because a guide might decide I want to come back and live again. I want to come back to the earth plane. Or it can sometimes be you've paid your dues now with this one. You can't guide her anymore. You've done that difficult part of her life. Now we need somebody in to keep it a bit fresh. So sometimes actually, if you have big changes in your life, you've gone from one phase of your life to another, it can sometimes be a guide changeover as well. You might notice, you think, God, why am I into that now? I never used to like that. It's because you've got pretty a guide that used to like it as well, that's changed over. So you might be really into something new, or have even with relationships, you might think, I would never have gone out with somebody like that before, and they're like, I would. So that's where you are. So that's how it can change too. But I always find it I've always been fascinated as well with certain countries, and I think that's my guides. Right. Because one of them is Hawaiian. Why would I get a Hawaiian, Samoan guide? And I've always been interested in that side of the world. I don't know why. And we live nowhere near it either. So it's them going, oh, come on, when are we going to go there again? Yeah. Jesus Christ. I've always thought that really, really strange. But you can also take on personality traits of your previous life, though, as well, not just your guides. So that sometimes can creep in. But guides are fun. Guides aren't so good sometimes at wishes and things. So if you try and manifest things, they'll be like, no, I'm here to guide you. I'm not here to manifest stuff for you. So that's more for, I would say, your spirit family, as in, your parents, grandparents, other family members, ancestors, and angels. They do more of that type of work. But guides are more I'm going to pull you back from stepping right in the middle of the road right now and killing you. So it's more like that. No, not allowed to do that. That, when I had my incident in the car and stuff, I always felt like my guide was there going, on my back. Not today. Or I always feel like guides are the ones behind you tutting all the time. Right. Why was I given this one?
Yeah.
It's like it's a bit like they're looking after you at daycare type thing. You're like the toddler at daycare, and they're like the one go, oh God, they're like, what was I giving this person? Like, they're more comical like that, really.
So do you get to see other people's guides as a psychic medium?
Sometimes and sometimes not.
Right.
A lot of psychic mediums can, and that's fine. With me, I don't really see the necessity in it, really. They don't. That's another thing guides don't really do, is they don't give you messages about your future.
Right.
That's, again, not their job. They know what's going on and they keep that private.
Yeah, their job is just to help you deal with it as you do go through these things.
Yeah, and it's a bit like they sign a disclaimer type thing, like, we will not give anything away that's confidential about this person. I always think that with guides. You can kind of see them sometimes, though, where you're like, oh, they're just there. And I'm like, yeah, it's just a Victorian bloke that stood behind you or whatever, and that's it. I won't give you any more than that because I'm not allowed to. But yeah, like usually the people that have got all the gossip are, ancestors. Yeah. They're the ones that have got all the juicy gossip, or even like visiting spirits that visit your house and stuff like that watch you. Yeah. They'll do that, but yeah, guides not so much. Some mediums don't even believe in guides. They're like, no, it's just random people that are around you. I'm like, no, I think it's a bit strange. I think they're definitely born with you, and I definitely get that sense as well with personality traits or things I like and I don't like. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's definitely, I feel like for me personally, it's definitely true that you're giving guides. And then when you pass over, you don't see them. So you never really see them.
Never meet them.
You might see them in passing. Go, oh yeah, I used to guide you back when you're 16. You're like, oh right, cool. Like that's probably what it's more like over there. Right. Because it's their job. They're not there for pleasantries. Yeah. Yeah, so when you pass, it is more family. That's why, again, mediums probably don't believe in it too, because they're like, well, where are they then when you pass? I'm like, yeah, you're not really supposed to see them because it's their job. But yeah, you might see them in passing and things. They might like, or if no spirits are around to come and collect you, they might be like, oh, here we go. Now I'm doing this as well. Because they've got another job to go to once they've done you know, when we're dead and gone, you know, they're with a person just being born. Yeah. They might be like, oh, I'm with them now where I want to be reborn myself. Like, so yeah, they're on to the next thing. They don't care about that.
So I'm guessing with each past life you may have had, you will have had different spirit guides. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you
would have had different ones. You wouldn't have had the same ones. Usually with past lives, you might know people from your past life that are born again with you. So, you know, I might have met you in my past life. You know, you've got that connection going on. But yeah, with guides, it's a little bit different. You just changed over every time, depending on what you want in your next life. So, you know, when you're talking about, right, I'm going to live again, but I want to do this, even if it's the most terrible life ever, to learn a lesson, or you're even punishing yourself thinking, I've been a really bad person, or they're saying you've been terrible, you're going to have to come back and live a really horrible life right now. They're like, can I pick the guides for that then? Like, he's going to guide me in this life. Or yeah, you might say, I've had a really, really bad life in my past life, like, or I've, you know, had nothing but war and destruction. Yeah. I want a good life now. And you think, oh, they're a nice lady. I'll have them as my guide. Like, they can guide me. Like, okay, I'll do that. So yeah, that's what they're like, really. But yeah, guides are fun though. Like, you just play tricks on them and stuff. I always think it's funny that mine's like a Victorian maid that I've got actually as well, because I'm a neat freak. Like, I'm so OCD, and I thought, I bet that's her. Yeah. So sometimes I think, should I be really untidy today just to get on her nerves? And she'll be like, no, you're not. You know, yeah. But yeah, you can. I do talk to them now and again, like to see what's going on and things like that. But yeah, it's quite fun. Like there was a program called Charmed that I used to like watching. Okay. And they had a guide on there, but she ended up marrying her guide on Charmed. Right. He came back to life as a person, not a ghost. But like on that, like he knew like her parents and things like that, like in their previous like lives or whatever. And I think, no, that wouldn't have happened. Like, you go from, you know, this life to the next life, you wouldn't know their parents.
Yeah, it's sort of people that are, like, really disconnected from you, I suppose.
But he would help her with her witchcraft and things like that. And I always think, actually, that's, like, my spiritual work. They help me with that sometimes. Like, if I get a person I don't really like them, I just get a really bad feeling. I can get that off my own spirits, like my family and stuff. But my guides would be like, no, not today, we're not working. Yeah. No, it's not part of your plan right now. Like, don't like this person. Their spirits are horrible. So sometimes I'll just sit there for half an hour thinking, I can't read this person. It's really horrible. All I'm getting in my ear right now is from my guides going, they're horrible. Oh my God. Like, what the hell? Like, it's just like really, really difficult. It's like having like an annoying kid behind you. Going, Mom, like pulling you. Like, that's what guides can be like sometimes. That's the only time, they might intervene with my working life is, if they don't like someone or they don't like the spirits, they'll be like, no, we're shielding you from this, or they'll just cluster even more around me. But guides are good though as well. They don't wake you up in the middle of the night, guides. They're nice. They
let you get your peace.
Yeah, they let you have your peace and your sleep, and they do all of that. They're good with things like that.
Yeah.
Or even if you feel like you want to shield yourself a little bit more, you feel like you do, again, like we talk about haunted houses and stuff like that, or objects, ask your guides to shield you. As well as angels. Angels and guides are good at shielding. Your own family aren't as much. So I usually ask my guides, say, go around me in a circle and shield me, or shield my car, shield my house. But oh yeah, cool, that's an easy job. I'll just do that. Just sit next to you and just put an energy barrier around you, easy peasy. So they can do things like that. Unless it's not on your path, like you're supposed to do something.
Right.
Then they'll open the gates. But yeah, usually they're pretty good at stuff like that.
Interesting. Well, I think that's a really good place to end off the chat for today, end off the show. We've spoken about so much different stuff today, and if you have just joined us or you've only listened to part of the show, don't worry, because of course this first goes out on a Thursday, so if you're having a Thursday morning listen through, hopefully you're having a good morning so far, continue to. But we're also on a Sunday, 3 till 4 p.m, and if you are listening to that one for the first time, well then you can listen back anytime, any place on our app or website. I suppose all there is left to do now is go into the final track for today by Mastodon. That one is White Walker. And say a big thank you to all of you for tuning in with us once again. A big thank you to Claire for being with us in the studio. And make sure to join us on Tuesday, where we'll be bringing you a Tarot Tuesdays. Goodbye.